Welcome to our third module of the course Sustainable Living and Environmental Studies. In this module, we shall be covering the topics under Sustainable Resource and Waste Management. So far in our previous modules, we have studied about environment, its basic units of ecology in ecosystems, biodiversity, the pyramids, the energy flow, the structural and functional units of ecosystem, the types of ecosystem, and then we studied in our previous module about climate change, about air pollution, soil pollution, water pollution, and the resources depletion, and about the sustainable development goals. In this module specifically, we shall be dealing with how can we use these resources in a sustainable way, what waste management steps we can take, and how can we do our fair share in maintaining a healthy environment. So in today's topic, we shall cover natural resources, classification, and their sustainable utilization. In our previous topics, we have covered we covered natural resources and their depletion. Today we cover the exact opposite, sustainable utilization, which also forms a part of the Sustainable Development Goals 2030 agenda. Beginning with what are natural resources? As we can see in this picture, what nature provides us: renewable and non-renewable natural resources. Renewable sources of energy can be wind energy, solar energy, tidal or hydro energy, and non-renewable sources of energy like fossil fuels, coal, oil. This picture reflects most of the renewable natural resources, the solar panels. The electric lines. What could electricity be? It's generated from water. Is it a renewable source of energy? Here we can also see the plants taking in sunlight. Again, another form of solar energy. And here we see the windmills using wind, another renewable source of energy, to make wind energy. An interesting question. Have you ever wondered why the Earth is the only planet that has successfully sustained life ever since the Big Bang happened? Why? What could the reason be? Could the reason be that it is at an equidistant, a very safe distance, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars? Is this equidistant from the Sun the only reason that our planet Earth has successfully sustained life for all these years? Well, that's one of the many reasons. But it's also a result of various materials and services the Earth has that has made survival possible on it. These materials are able to support the existence of various life forms. These materials are referred to as natural resources. The gifts of nature. These gifts of nature, be it sunlight, be it water, soil, forests, coal, oil, wind, coral reef, all these gifts that Mother Nature provides us on its own are sustaining life on Earth. In our previous module as well, when we studied about depletion of natural resources, I told you about how we must be very conscious of their utilization, how not all resources are renewable, and how when there's a depletion of these resources, which are mostly the biotic components of an ecosystem, the diversity will suffer a loss, because of which the environmental stress will increase, resulting in more or less collapse of an ecosystem. The classification of natural resources. Natural resources, apart from just being renewable and non-renewable, are classified under three categories based on their origin, based on their availability is what we know, and based on the level of their development. Based on their origin means from where are we getting this natural resource? Is it found in the soil? Is it found in the sun's light? Is it found in a certain organism? Means the genesis of this resource has to be the means of our classification. It's classified into two types, biotic and abiotic. By now we should be well versed about what biotic and abiotic are supposed to mean. The word bio means life. The word abio, on the contrary, would mean non-living. The word bio means life. Biotic resources are those natural resources that have life in them. There are natural resources that have life in them, and they originate from living organisms. For example, all species of plants and animals, all microorganisms, and all fossil fuels. Now, we say that plants and animals are biotic resources. We know about neem, we know about tulsi. Are these plants not having a medicinal value? They do. So they are also a natural resource. They are coming from living organisms. Do we not know about algae, bacteria, fungi that help in decomposition? The fossil fuels that are present in the earth are all biotic resources because of their origin in living things. Then the resources that have no life in them or originate from non-living things. Is water a living thing? No. Is air a living thing? No. Are rocks a living thing? No. So the energy or the resources that we are going to derive from these are going to be abiotic resources. The wind energy that we are going to derive, the solar energy that we are going to trap, the hydro energy that we are going to generate is all going to be abiotic energy. Classification based on availability is something we all are very well versed with. The renewable and non-renewable resources of energy. Renewable are the natural resources that can be replenished. The rate at which they can be replenished exceeds the rate at which they are being used. For example, solar energy. Now, unfortunately, we'll come ahead and there's a very famous saying that Albert Einstein gave a long time back about solar energy. Here, we know that sunlight is probably one of the most important and probably one of the most available sources of energy we have. Yet, we are not able to capture that energy and use it in the best ways possible. Then comes the example of hydro energy, tidal energy, and wind energy. These are again renewable resources. Usually is the word. The abiotic resources are renewable resources. Coming to non-renewable resources. Resources in this category are renewable, are non-renewable, and can be exhausted. Which means once used up, forever gone. Fossil fuels, coal, rare species of organisms, mostly biotic resources. Our next classification is based on development. How are these sources discovered? How are these sources formed? How did they come into their existence? Potential resources, stock resources, actual resources. Development also here means how are these being used? How much are the how are these being used? How much are these being used? And how much is being left for future generations? So potential resources, these are the resources that are known to exist, have not yet been quantified, and can be used for future use. So we know that these resources have certain potential, but we have not tapped onto that potential yet. We know that these resources exist, but we have not yet quantified them in the present, but these can be used in the future. For instance, wind energy exists in certain areas, in deserts mostly, but has not been used to that extent. Nuclear minerals. We have known that nuclear energy has a lot of potential, but the hazards that are involved in the utilization of this energy limit us, restrict us to use this energy in a quantified manner. So there is potential, but we have not tapped onto it yet, means it's a potential resource. Stock resource. These are the resources that have been discovered, quantified, but have not been harnessed due to insufficient technologies. Now, hydrogen. Hydrogen in itself, in its gaseous form or in its atomic form, is a big source of energy, but there are insufficient technologies again to tap onto this potential. But why is it a stock resource and not a potential resource? The difference is that in potential, we know that it exists, but we have not been able to quantify it yet. Here, we don't even know, because there's such, here the lack of technology is to know about its existence. Here the lack of technology is not because the technology does not exist, it's because we don't want to use it. Actual resources, these are the resources that have been discovered, quantified, harnessed, and are being used. This is something that we are doing with the fossil fuels, कि हमें पता भी है ये रिसोर्सेज हैं, हमें पता भी है इनको यूज़ कैसे करना है, हमने इनको यूज़ किया भी हुआ है, हम इन्हें यूज़ कर भी रहे हैं. फॉसिल फ्यूल, क्रूड ऑयल, ऑयल्स, forests, etc. If you remember, in our previous module, we studied about sustainable development goals. Here's a quick recap. Why? Because in this topic, we want to study about sustainable utilization. So a passing reference to sustainable development goals is important as we study sustainable energy, utilization of water, sustainable industrialization, climate action, conservation, protection of environment, sustainable utilization as opposed to resource depletion. Sustainable utilization of natural resources means the proper management of natural resources. Now, when we started our module of resource depletion and of sustainable development, the key barriers, the biggest barrier was that there's a lack of awareness and there's lack of management to use these resources. So we must use them for the benefit of the entire human community, the ones who are present, and also for the future generations. The main aim of sustainable development is to provide resources for present generations without compromising the needs of future generations. In SDGs, we studied that public and planet have to go hand in hand. The economy cannot be based on the use of non-renewable resources like coal, petroleum, because these resources cannot be replenished. Now your economy cannot be solely based on the use of non-renewable resources. It has to be a sustainable, homogeneous, constructive, replenishing, synergistic utilization of everything available, and more so of the resources that can be replenished, meaning the renewable sources of energy. Sustainable utilization is a key governance challenge. The governments have put in various policies, even the 2015 Sustainable Development Goals Agenda 2030 was one such governance by all the countries at an international level, but it is a challenge. Joyce Nsua, Deputy Executive Director of UNEP, says that nature makes human development possible, but our relentless demand for the Earth's resources is accelerating extinction rates and devastating the world ecosystem. Now, this demand of ours, he says that nature has enough to give you what you need, but if it's going to be your greed, then that's not going to be satisfied, and this greed is going to accelerate extinction rates and devastate the world's ecosystems. Sustainable utilization, the way forward. Now, because this image tells us that we need to have ecosystems preserved and extinctions to be stopped, we need to have sustainable, optimal utilization of resources. How can we do that? By fostering sustainable resource governance. A plethora of national legislations, intergovernment agreements like the SGD agenda, regional organizations. Not only at the international level must there be programs that foster sustainable resource governance, but even at the regional levels. And in fact, these regional organizations working at the village level, working at the tribal levels, are more helpful because the ground level realities is what these people deal with. Certification mechanisms, corporate codes of conduct, how must companies behave, a code of conduct. This also reminds me that now the companies law, that is probably the law that governs most of the corporates in India. The Companies Act puts on these corporates a corporate social responsibility. It puts on these companies a corporate social responsibility, which means that these corporates have to give back to the society. And most of the corporates in India do it in the form of going green. They put up trees, they help the poor. In short, they help achieve the SGDs under their CSR programs. and multi-stakeholder partnerships create a complex web of rules affecting how natural resources are used and benefit thereof are distributed. So there has to be a sustainable resource governance. Now resources cannot be left at the mercy of every person to use it howsoever they want. Now we have petrol. Is it left at the mercy of anyone? You can use it however you want. No, there are proper government rules for the same. There are permits for who can own a petrol pump. So other resources as well should be under good governance. Balancing the rights and interests over natural resources. Determining how people can and should access, benefit, and have responsibility. To have access and to gain benefit from something, we are always ahead to take the benefit. We are always ahead to have access to something. We all know about our fundamental rights. Do we know about our fundamental duties? The same is over here. We think, okay, it's nature, I have a right over this, it's my water, it's my air, it's my right to have this, that. But our responsibility is equally important. States play a central role in balancing the rights and interests. So we studied this in the governance again. The states will have a central role in balancing these rights and interests, in impacting the general population's right to stay safe in a healthy environment. A question: improving the overall efficiency of natural resource utilization is called. I'll give you the answer when I finish this topic. Till then, think about it. Improving the overall efficiency of natural resource utilization. Coming back to balancing the rights and interests over natural resources and governance, the way forward in sustainable utilization has to come from governments, from international agreements, from regional organizations, from individual efforts like yours and mine to do our bit to sustainably, optimally use these resources, to do what we need and to avoid any greed. And then we can have a safe and healthy environment not only for ourselves but also for the coming generations. The answer to this question is decoupling. Decoupling means that a natural resource that's available, how to optimally utilize it, how to improve the overall efficiency of that resource. The process to increase this efficiency is called decoupling. I hope we learned something in this topic where we studied sustainable utilization of natural resources and the types of natural resources available. I'll see you in the next topic. Thank you.